Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, I'm going to talk to you today about why failure doesn't exist. You heard that correctly. Failure has no essence of existence. And I'm going to tell you why. In our modern day culture, it is very, how you say, hip? Trendy. Trendy would be the better word. It's very trendy to almost put on a show of hustle and grind, grind set. You got to put in the work. The work never ends. The hustle never stops. And I think a lot of that, aside from the addiction to materialism, which is a whole different matter, I think a lot of it has to do with the fear of failure. Now, why did I put failure in quotation marks, you might ask? It's an excellent question. I'm about to answer it. Stay tuned. I did that because the way most people think of failure, and the way I used to think of failure, was almost as like a boogeyman hiding in one's closet or under your bed. It's almost as if you were to fail, or if you were to be in a situation that appeared to be construed as a failure, then you were lacking in some way. You were diminished. You were less than. You weren't all you could be. Almost as though the topic of failure was enough to elucidate a stress response in one's nervous system, which really would put them in a fight or flight kind of mode and would take them away from the present moment, take them away from being grounded, right? And that fear of failure leads to so many avenues being unexplored, so many adventures not being capitalized on, so many opportunities not taken because we're afraid. And what are we afraid of? Afraid of looking bad, afraid of not living up to some abstract expectation, afraid of what other people might say, afraid of losing money, status, respect, etc., etc. Notice how everything I just named really was a symptom of what the ego would constitute fear to be. It's always about posturing, always about some sort of image, some sort of projection, but there's no substance to it. It isn't real. Whereas if you operated from your actual self, capital S, who God made you to be, a son or a daughter of the Most High, and this is getting to my point here, you would realize that failure doesn't exist because you cannot fail. Okay, failure in the sense of the word doesn't exist for me. It doesn't exist. Now, have I just abolished that inside of my mind? Have I gaslit myself to such a degree where it's just like, oh man, I'm just walking success. I just cannot fail. You know, maybe to an extent, but I think the in large part it's because I've just reframed what failure used to mean to me. What I see failure as now is essentially just wisdom. Okay, it's learning. It's a learning opportunity. It's improved understanding, allowing your understanding to reach a greater level. It's almost as if it's just direct feedback from an iterative process. Okay? Now, if it's direct feedback from an iterative process, and I can use that feedback to improve my experience and my navigation in that iterative process so that I can succeed to the degree that I want to succeed in, then where did I fail? How did I fail? In what degree did I fail? What abstract metric are we using here? Because from where I'm sitting and from where I'm looking, even without my glasses here, I would say that I did not fail at all in any way, shape, or form. I learned. I extracted new information. I improved my understanding. I adapted. I pivoted. And I continue to move in the right direction. No part of that, anything that I just said, had a word similar to failure, or it could be used as a synonym for the word failure, because it didn't fail. And really, for the vast majority of my life, I did not see failure like that. I was scared. I was scared of failing because I saw it as some sort of mammoth, some boulder in my way I couldn't bypass. It was encompassing everything. It blocked my way. The only thing that blocked my way was my perception of it. Yeah, I had made it so large in my head. I was so afraid of it for so long. I didn't even try to understand why. And that right there really says it all. Because when you don't understand your fears, you don't understand why you have those fears, how can you expect them to go away? How can you expect them to magically disappear? How can you manifest them out of your life? You don't understand them. Any chance you get in understanding them, you just you do something else. You won't sit with it. And that's what I had to do. I had to sit with it. And I had to basically really pray to God for the strength to actually understand what I was sitting with. And why was I so afraid of something that I myself created? I created that. Nobody did it for me. I mean, I have to take accountability. It's part of the process. Not blame, but accountability. Okay? Nobody made me have that perception of failure. Nobody held a gun to my head and said, hey, this is your perception of failure, yo. And you better have it. I'm going to pull the trigger. No, man. No. That never happened. But in my mind, it felt like it did, right? And once I understood that, and I saw that, okay, failure actually it isn't nearly as bad as everybody else makes it out to be. And it wasn't as bad as I myself made it out to be for the vast majority of my life up to this point. Then I could kind of, well, I mean, I was free. It was really more, I felt like a burden, literally a burden was lifted off my shoulders. And I could just walk along and maybe for once enjoy the scenery. That really was everything. That shift, that reframing of failure. Because once you do that, once you actually reframe the failure and you see that, okay, it's not a monster, it's not a boogeyman, it only has the power that I give it. And that's why failure doesn't exist unless you say it does. In which case, it does exist for you. It exists for you because you have given it the power to exist. If you're not given the power to exist, it will also not exist for you. Because you've reclaimed that power, you've directed it at the love of self, capital S, okay? As in who God put you on this earth to be, and you realize that you are not meant to be afraid of failure. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and self-control. Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not be afraid, do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God goes with you wherever you go. Okay, there's no exceptions to that. Wherever you go, you got the Most High right there with you, inside of you. Your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, inside of you, within you, without you, within you. No point in being afraid, then. No point in even worrying, honestly. But that's a different matter. And old habits die hard. I completely understand that. No condemnation, as always. But really, the aspect of failure is entirely illusory. And this society has really bigged it up to such an extent where you almost have to feel like you have to be in a rat race or to keep up with the Joneses or to do this or to do that to trick yourself into believing that you're happy. When you're not really living according to you're not really living according to the values that you wish to live by. Right? How's that passion project of yours doing? Like, when was the last time you sat down and just wrote down different stuff that you're actually interested in? Like, genuinely interested in. And maybe you like drawing. You should draw. If you like drawing. Maybe you like painting. Paint. Maybe you like working with your hands. Maybe you like mechanics, right? Do what you gotta do. You seen what they're charging for labor? There's a market. And this might sound funny, but these are just examples of the fact how we really stunt ourselves by listening to all this noise. And really, we can also filter out the noise by perceiving the signal that is within us, which is the still small voice of God that once again the prophet Elijah heard. He didn't hear like an echo, an explosion, a loud voice. He heard a still small voice amidst all that chaos. That still small voice was greater than the chaos, and Elijah leaned into it. And that's what we have to. We have to lean into that still small voice within ourselves and realize that this fear of failure does not exist, has no power over us in any way, shape, or form unless we give it that power. And no one and nothing can come between us and our destiny as a child of the Most High King. No one and nothing. At the end of the day, it's just not how it works, right? I mean, it isn't. And I would say you believe it and you live that. You live that, even when all evidence to the contrary. That should strengthen your faith, embolden it, because now you're proving your worth, not to God, but almost to yourself, right? Because at first it almost seems like the ego needs proof. But by you persisting in that new identity, by you saying, no, I'm a child of God, I know who I am, I know what I enjoy doing, I know what I desire, and I'm going to do the things that I genuinely desire and wish to do, despite what anybody else may say, okay, within reason, of course, within reason and within ethics. Okay, that's should be made clear. I just want to state it. And I'm not going to be afraid, and listen to this now, I'm not going to be afraid of the possibility of failing, because I do not believe that I can fail. Oh, you say that to yourself and you believe it, because God cannot fail. God is with you. You cannot fail. Maybe be redirected, pivoted, maybe you got to adapt, but it's a learning process, right? It's You've gained wisdom, you've improved your understanding. That is in no way failure, nor should it be considered as such. It's actually that's a net benefit. Okay, it's not a liability; that's an asset, and you should be proud of that, and you should claim that for yourself. It almost, I don't know, it almost seems like a badge of honor in this world to play it safe, which I look at as living a life that you had not intended to live. Like you played it safe, and you seem like you have everything on paper, yet you're not fulfilled because you're dead to yourself. The inner child in you, I mean, I don't want to be graphic, but it seems like the inner child in these people have died. They're not, they have everything they want just to realize how meaningless it is. And I'm not saying you can't have those things. I'm saying you can't put your worth on those things. That's what I'm saying. You can still have them, but your worth isn't based on them. And I am saying that, and I do believe that. This fear of failure really is a big part of the whole playing it safe model and looking as though you have all the boxes checked, but being internally vacuous. You're not fulfilled because you refuse to know yourself and you refuse to be authentic within yourself. And it's a hard thing to do. It really is a hard thing to do. I'm not going to sit here and lie, and I'm not going to condemn them either. But I've lived that life. And it's terrible. It's not a good way to live. That's why even the possibility of failure is 1,000 times better than that. I'd rather fail every day for the rest of my life than live like that. I can't do it. God won't let me do it. I can't do it. Because once you see who you really are, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna pursue this passion project. I am gonna go over here and explore that opportunity. I'm going to talk to that person. I'm going to send that email. I'm going to make that phone call. I'm going to try. I'm going to try. I'm going to have faith. Because God didn't put me on this earth to play it safe, to placate everybody else. So I could get a pat on the back and some sort of external validation in order to believe that I am worthy. I am worthy because God said that I'm worthy. That's enough. God is enough. I don't require external validation at the cost of my own soul. What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? It profits him not anything. It does not profit him at all. He's died while he lived. The man is literally living in hell while he is still alive. Because he sold the eternal for the material. He exchanged that which always is, that which comes into being, exists for a little bit, decays, and then dies. That's not a good exchange. It's not a fair exchange. It's not a just exchange. That's a bad exchange. That's a poor exchange. And I just wanted to make this video to reiterate the points that failure, even if you want to define it as actually failure, which I don't do that anymore, but even if you were to do that, it's transitory. It's of the material. You are a child of God. You cannot fail. Literally. That's not how that works. Those two don't go together. No matter how it may seem, no matter what others may say, if you stay true to your vision, you walk in that faith with internal conviction, relying on the Lord, then you will not fail, and He will not forsake you. I should say forsake. Excuse me. The Lord will not forsake you. The Lord has not forsaken me. That's the more correct vocabulary. Forgive me for that. But for real though, failure has no substance of existence. It is entirely illusory. It is nothing to be afraid of. Have fun with it, really. I mean, I encourage you to have fun with it, honestly. Because you almost, it reminds me of that quote. I know I'm going all over the place here, but really it all connects. It reminds me of that quote by Nietzsche. What is it? The summit of man's wisdom. Or no. So, I'm paraphrasing here. The summit of man's knowledge to regain the wisdom of a child of play. Right? And as we all know, children are inheritors of the kingdom of heaven, as they should well be. There's no fear of failure there. There's innate existence. There's complete presence. There's self-amusement. There's genuine enjoyment of the process. And that's something I'm working on right now, of the process. Not the destination. The process. The process and the destination are one anyway. But you really have to enjoy the process. As I eradicate my fear of failure and do things that the old me never would have done, to the glory of God, of course, I come to see the validity of that statement more and more. The process is not the enemy. It's not something to disparage, or something to be avoided or rushed. It's just as important as the destination, because I mean, it inevitably leads you to it. And I believe part of that process is conquering the fear of failure, because you're better than that. And God gave you a spirit of power and love and self-control, not fear, not hesitancy, not wariness, not anxiety, nor fear of failure. We cannot fail when we have the Most High with us, as we are all children of the Most High. So, as you go about navigating this matrix, failure has no power over you unless you consciously let it. Once you see it for what it actually is, just some sort of illusory spook, that is vaporous. You can see right through it. Take strength from that. Take courage. Realize that the power was always within you the whole time. There's never a failure that was stopping you. It was your viewpoint of the failure that was stopping you. Your belief around it that was limited. Which means the opposite can also be true. Now your limitless belief of it. That is to say, you realize it cannot hold you. It cannot keep you down. It has no power over you. You go out in the world with that, ooh, yeah, they'll be looking good. They'll be looking tough. Now that'll do some damage in a good way, of course, and in a godly way. I want to leave you with that. Fear of failure is fear of nothing at all. We rise above it because we are better than it. We operate from the rock of righteousness and the rock of truth. And as our weapon, the sword of the Spirit, we cut down that phantom that calls itself failure. And we go forth free, walking upright and confident in the light of the everlasting Father. And that right there, that is a beautiful thing indeed. Blessings to all of you, and remember who you are.